All right, today we are diving deep into a really fascinating retelling of a classic, Henoch the Prussian Faust. We're going to zero in on its powerful industrial critique and, how it warps this timeless story into a pretty chilling commentary on technology, the state, and what we even mean by progress.
So, let's just jump in with the central question this whole thing throws at you. We all tend to think of science and new discoveries as a road to freedom, right? But what if that road leads somewhere much, much darker? What if all that supposed enlightenment actually ends up building a new kind of prison?
To really get Henoch, you've got to see how it just completely flips the original story on its head. Goethe's Faust? That's the classic tale of one man's soul caught between God and the devil. It's a straightforward battle of good versus evil. But Henoch, it reframes the entire fight. The conflict here isn't about morality. It's existential. It's about the very essence of humanity. Messy, organic, flawed, going up against the cold, logical, relentless power of the machine.
And that brings us to the first big idea in this work, what you could almost call the machine's dark gospel. This is where the story really lays out its core argument.
This quote, right from the story's inverted prologue, just cuts straight to the heart of it. The character Samyaza basically argues that showing humanity how the universe really works, all the gears and levers, doesn't free us. No. It crushes our spirit. It leads to a tyranny built on cold, godless logic. It's a pretty radical thought, right? That some knowledge is just inherently poisonous to us.
And this big reveal creates something the text calls the terror of the cosmos. And look, this isn't just about being afraid of black holes or something. It's a deep, psychological horror that settles in when you realize the universe isn't some beautiful, divine plan. It's just a clanking, grinding, totally indifferent machine. It's the terror of realizing you might not matter at all.
Which leads us to the central problem. The story basically says we are fundamentally incompatible with this mechanical truth. Our clay bodies, our biology, that little divine spark that supposedly makes us human, all of it is completely at odds with the cold logic of an industrial universe. It's the organic versus the mechanical, and in this world, we are the glitch in the system.
Okay, so this conflict gets personal in the second act. This is where we explore the real human cost of all this progress through our main character, Henoch. Now, Henoch isn't your typical bad guy looking for power. He's actually framed as an ethical scientist. His goal sounds noble, even. He wants to use technology to save humanity from its own biological fragility. But the story makes it clear that this ambition is just the ultimate form of pride, the hubris of believing you can engineer away all of humanity's flaws. His grand plan was to merge that divine spark of humanity with the natural world, using science as the ultimate tool to build that bridge. But as you can see, the reality was the exact opposite. His attempts didn't bring salvation, they brought catastrophe. Every single effort to fix us just made everything so much worse.
You see this disaster most clearly in a character of Sophia. In Goethe's Faust, the tragic hero, Gretchen, is destroyed by social shame and religious judgment. But Sophia, she's destroyed by something totally different. She is literally obliterated by the alien light of forbidden science itself. In this story, progress isn't the cure, it's the murder weapon.
So the takeaway from this part of the story is huge. It's this idea of revelation as a form of destruction. The quest for scientific truth doesn't just hurt people, it actively wipes out the natural organic world, replacing it with something cold, artificial, and, well, alien.
In the third act, the story zooms way out, moving from this personal tragedy to a massive political allegory. And this is where the critique of the Prussian state gets absolutely razor-sharp, because heaven itself gets a total redesign.
Welcome to the Crystal Chancery. This is this story's version of heaven. And let me tell you, it's no paradise of clouds and harps. It's a terrifying bureaucracy, a cold, brutally efficient, celestial military headquarters. You can just feel the critique of a state run by unfeeling, rigid, absolute order.
And who's in charge of this place? Well, that would be the Nephilim, who are described as an aristocratic of iron. These artificial giants are the perfect symbol for the industrial and military machine just completely taking over and displacing nature. It's a powerful allegory for how a modern, militarized state can just pave over the ancient world.
The critique gets even more pointed when it reimagines the biblical flood. In this version, the flood wasn't some act of divine justice or wrath. Oh no, it's described with this chillingly bureaucratic phrase, a necessary logistical purge. It was just a cold calculation, a decision made to correct a biological error. It really drives home the terrifying, dehumanizing logic of this iron heaven. All of this builds to the final act and the story's most profound and frankly disturbing twist. I mean, if this is the world, a cold machine on Earth and an even colder bureaucracy in heaven, what could salvation possibly look like? The answer is simple: assimilation. Now, to get the twist, we first need to understand this German concept Streben. In Goethe's Faust, this is everything. It means a restless, relentless striving for more knowledge, more experience, more everything. And it's this quality, this constant pushing forward that ultimately saves Faust. So Henoch seems to follow that pattern, at least on the surface. Henoch is also saved because of his Streben, his relentless drive. But the story makes us stop and ask a critical question. In a world governed by the machine, what does salvation actually mean? Is it freedom, or is it something else entirely?
And here you see his final transformation laid out. Henoch strives. He is saved. And what does that salvation look like? He's transformed into Metatron, the celestial scribe. He doesn't beat the system. He doesn't escape it. He merges with it. He becomes a perfect, efficient, functional cog in that divine bureaucracy. And that leads us to the final, chilling message. In this industrial critique, the ultimate fate of the modern, striving, Faustian man isn't to master the machine. It's to become a part of it. The only way to escape its crushing weight is to be completely assimilated by it. Which leaves us with one last haunting question to think about. This story isn't just about some long-gone Prussian state, right? It holds up a mirror to our own time. In a world that's more and more run by huge, impersonal systems, if the only way to get ahead is to just become another gear in the machine, is that really freedom at all?